Recording. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the sixth annual episode of Korkie's Corner. Joining me, of course, is my co-host, writer of Ice Cold and Deadly, working on the upcoming project Seeking Zad Kuru, and writing his book, The Batman Conspiracy, my dad, Mike Korkie.
It's great to be here, John.
All right, so it finally happened. The Erik Karlsson trade went through. I know you said you have a lot of thoughts on it. We have not talked about our trade, who we thought won, who we thought lost the trade, um, all of that. So I'll let you kind of get us started with what you thought of the Erik Karlsson trade.
Yeah, well, I guess it really depends on, in the short term, it looks like Montreal kind of came out pretty well because they really didn't have to do anything. They basically had to take on some contracts like Jeff Petrie, who used to play for them anyway, and they got to get rid of the Mike Hoffman deal, and they got some draft picks, basically for doing nothing. And then Pittsburgh, for both Pittsburgh and San Jose, to me, it really depends on Carlson's longevity because he's got 4 years at $10 million for them. So that's a big, if he gets hurt or if he really starts to diminish, you're looking at an Oliver Ekman-Larsson situation with him, where the Canucks thought they were, signing a stud Swedish offensive defenseman, who they wound up having to buy out. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Karlsson, but that's the risk that Pittsburgh's running. And then the biggest thing about the deal from Pittsburgh's perspective is I'm not so sure that it reopens the Penguins Stanley Cup window. I would say it definitely makes them a better team, and you've got to swing for the fences when you've only got a few more years of Crosby and Malkin, but I'm not sure that this takes them into contention. Takes them back into the playoffs, but I'm not sure it takes them into contention.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is if they got Erik Karlsson, I don't think you can bet on a defenseman falling off 1 year after putting up a 100-point season and having a resurgence year. Could he? Maybe. I think the problem is with Pittsburgh is what if Letang, Malkin, or Crosby, if one of those guys begins their decline this year, which Crosby right now feels immortal with his sustainability and how he's been able to hold up, especially given the concussions he's gone through. But I mean, it just takes one of those guys to collapse, and you're not a playoff team anymore. Like they need all four of those guys that are above 35, I think. I think is Letang above 35? Um,
I
but
believe so. If not, he's pretty close.
yeah, you're relying on four guys who are above 35 to not have a sharp decline this year and next year as well. They gave up another first round pick when Pittsburgh's prospect pool is very thin. I actually don't like this trade for Pittsburgh, although they could end up coming in and making it to the Eastern Conference final and probably eliminating my Hurricanes to be able to do that. And I'm sitting here eating my words with the eliteness of those 35 plus players. But I really don't like it. San Jose, I think, kind of wins just because they got the first overall pick. Montreal got a second round pick and some prospects for free. So I think Montreal just kind of swooped in and got a bunch of free prospects for their rebuild. Petrie, I think, has hit a career peak in Montreal. So similar to Boston, picking up Lucic, they get a guy who peaked for that team playing for them, which I always think is a really good way for players to retire and finish out their career. So all in all, I think Montreal probably is the main winner, but I don't hate San Jose's return here. And Pittsburgh's taking a bit of a large gamble for my taste. Because if Malkin or Letang, if they fall off compared to then they're out of the playoffs again.
Yeah, I just think that as far as Pittsburgh is concerned, the next 2 years, see what they can do. But 3 years from now, I think they're going to be in a world of hurt.
Yep, and of course, in a very unprecedented move, Kyle Dubas literally is the Obama meme. in that he named himself general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins, which I think someone photoshopped the picture of Kyle Dubas over both of Obama's faces with him awarding himself the medal. And I think that checks out. I know it's probably Spezza's going to be the first GM he names, but I still think that is pretty funny.
Well, hey, if I mean those general manager jobs are not easy to come by, and if you find a president of hockey operations that you can get along with, then you take those, you jump on those positions.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. He had a falling out with Brendan Shanahan over that, so he's like, "All right, well, I'm going to become the president and general manager." It's not. I think Don Waddell of the Hurricanes is both the president of hockey operations and the general manager. So it's not unprecedented, but very rarely do I think it's normally when a guy becomes president and GM, they're hired for both at the same time, or they get promoted to president if they're already the GM. Very rarely is it a yeah. So I've decided to hire myself as the general manager. I will pay myself the highest a general manager has ever been paid. It's kind of wild about that. So it's although I do notice you couldn't find a picture of the Oilers locker room, by the way, with those crappy orange jerseys and not the blue.
What I'm actually in the Oilers dressing room. What are you talking about? It's not a picture. I'm
Oh yeah.
actually in the room right now.
Oh
They
yeah, I'm
they
sure.
hooked me up.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Gary Bettman would appreciate an NHL team hooking you up after all you said about him. So,
I don't care what Gary thinks.
alrighty. So, yeah, that's all on the trade here. So, Dad, I have a question for you. As a hockey author yourself, writing Ice Cold and Deadly, and you're working on the Bettman conspiracy. I'm wondering what you think of these books, if you'd read them and get inspiration for your next book that you write about hockey and everything. So I'll just read you some of the premises of these books, and I kind of want your thoughts on this book. So this first hockey book, I won't read the name right away, but it is a standalone novel, or it's the second standalone novel in a series. So Miller Buck Butterson has been banging his way through life ever since a puck to the face fixed his messed up front teeth. After 5 years in the NHL, deflecting goals on the ice and scoring them with puck bunnies, Miller has decided he's ready for a girlfriend, a real non-bunny girlfriend, to take on dates and not jump into bed after 5 seconds of conversation. Miller thinks he's found that woman in his teammate sister, except unlike team captain and all around nice guy Alex Waters, who happens to date his stepsister, Miller's media reputation as a man whore is earned. Beyond that minor detail, Miller doesn't know the first thing about relationships or the time and effort they require. Miller learns eventually that if he wants to make Sunshine Sunny Waters fall for him, he's going to have to do a lot more than show her his stick skills in the bedroom. So
Okay, so if there's anybody still listening after that dissertation, then then I just want to say that it seems a little bit more rom-commy than hockey, so I'm gonna give that one a thumbs down.
All right, all right. So and this one is the second in the standalone novel series. This one is called Pucked Up. So
Pucked up.
that's yep, Pucked Up. That is the name of this book.
That's the title that you just read.
Yep, that is the
Uh,
title of the book, Pucked Up.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean that's very original.
Yeah. And then we have another book. This one is called Puck Shy. So game six loss. So it says I'm having the definition of a bad year. Game six loss, costing my team the cup. Check. Getting arrested and ruining my image. Check. Almost getting run over after my car breaks down. Oh, look, a hat trick. My contract is up with the Carolina Comets this year. Gee, I wonder who that name is based off of, but for copyright reasons. And I need to get together if I want to stay with the team. I need relaxation, not a relationship. But when scrolling on a date and stumble across the pretty girl who almost ran me over, I know I can't let her walk away this time. Harper is funny, smart, and doesn't care about hockey. I'm not supposed to be focused on anything other than my career, yet I can't get Harper off my mind. I know I shouldn't fall for her, but I think I already have. Puck Shy is a standalone hockey romantic comedy. What do you think of this book, Dad?
Well, I want to know what's on your reading list that these are coming up on your recommendations.
I will tell you how I came across this. If you follow like any sort of hockey news, this was completely foreign to me when I first heard the story, but there's a reason I've come across these books here. So we have a third and final one, and this is another one in the critically acclaimed uber popular Puck series. So with a famous NHL player for a stepbrother, Violet Hall is well acquainted with the playboy reputation of many a hockey star. So, of course, she isn't interested in legendary team captain Alex Waters or his pretty beat up face and rock hard six pack abs. When Alex inadvertently obliterates Violet's misapprehension regarding the inferior intellect of hockey players, he becomes much more than just a hot body with a face to match. Suffering from a complete lapse in judgment, Violet discovers just how good Alex is with the hockey stick in his pants. Violet believes her night of orgasmic magic with Alex is just that, one night. But Alex starts to call and text and email and send extravagant and quirky gifts. Suddenly, he's too difficult to ignore and nearly impossible not to like. The problem is the media portrays Alex as a total player, and Violet doesn't want to be a part of the game. I want your thoughts on that one.
Well, I mean, I think that might be the first hat trick you've ever scored, a hat trick of garbage. I mean, that's just you, Yeah, I don't know. I mean, those are interesting, I guess, and I very soap opery. So maybe that's related to Shorzy or Letterkenny or so. You know, you've been watching those shows, so maybe somehow with all the drama involved in those shows, that this is coming up on your recommendations.
Yeah, well, I mean, of those stories, which one do you think interests you the most? And would you dip your toes into a hockey smut novel?
So no, I wouldn't.
Um,
I'm not into feet. I guess the thing that the second one
this
sounded interesting.
look at that. So maybe are you gonna become a fan of hockey romance in the future? Do you think there's potential here with this genre? Do you not want to read about hockey players, washboard abs, and shredded chest?
Hey, this was all covered when Wayne Gretzky was on the Young and Restless. I mean, it's been done, and it was like 1979 they were already doing this. So this concept is not new, John. I haven't partaken. I did enjoy watching Wayne from the Edmonton operation, but beyond that, I'm not really into the daytime soaps, which is what these basically sound like. But I mean, if it gets people interested in hockey, then why not?
Yeah, so this was an interesting story that broke through, and this is one of the first times I've ever heard a story where I'm like, wow, I am too old for this. And basically, the app TikTok has a subsection of like that the algorithm presents to you called Book Talk. And then what's become a very cult following in the Book Talk community is hockey romance books and authors writing it and everything and telling them about it and everything. And the very clear inspiration that I noticed was apparently Alex Wenberg, and it got so bad with all the comments and stuff that Alex Wenberg's wife actually had to release a statement saying, "Can you please stop sexually harassing my husband all over social media?" So I was like, okay, I'm very curious. I didn't realize hockey smut was a thing because I knew like smut books could get very specific, And then I was like, ah, maybe reading the premises of these hockey romance books to my dad would get a pretty funny reaction. And I could tell by the second book you were a little bit dead inside. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So, I don't know exactly. I mean, yeah, the actually, like I said, the second one is the most interesting to me. So I wasn't exactly dead inside, but they they're not strong. They're not strong. But I can tell you that notoriously, hockey players are they're the worst kind of ballers because they're out there basically doing everything that you highlighted in those three novels, but they try and keep it quiet. Like in the NFL, NBA, they're pretty above board of they're ballers and they're doing this and that, and then they don't really keep it on the down low too much. But hockey players try to particularly the NHL seems to want to have this protected image of like act like they're not actually out there doing this stuff, and it just goes on constantly nonstop
Yeah, I
at the
mean,
professional and amateur levels. So it's probably fairly true to life.
who could forget when Connor McDavid got caught in 4K with I think it was Zach Cassian and then another player all leaving the nightclub with like the exact same number of women, and they're all getting into a taxi cab and everything. I do remember that, and it was pretty funny. And I think the best one was Kevin Weeks. He always like posts like the top half of his face in front of like a background, and then people started memeing it. Now he does it in front of the laundry. One of the first ones I saw was Kevin Weeks's face, the top half photoshopped over the photo of McDavid walking with a lady who was probably not his current fiance now. Good.
Well, that was before he was dating her, but there's a reason the players in the collective bargaining agreements, one of the things that they've negotiated is that they don't have roommates on the road. They've negotiated that everybody gets their own hotel room. Why do you think that might be? Not because you don't like hanging with your buddies, because it can be uncomfortable, sharing a bed with your buddies or a room with your buddies when you're bringing women home. So yeah, I mean that's part of the lifestyle. That's why every young man wants to play in the NHL.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why every young man wants to play in the NHL, Dad. I'm sure that's why, not to just play hockey, just and then all the bonuses that come with being in the top 1% of a career field. I think that goes with anyone that's in the top 1% of a career field. But yeah, I figured the reaction out of you would be to the hockey romance pretty entertaining. And of course, the hockey news was kind of dead. So I thought I'd do something fun and just introduce you to the subgenre of books. Of one of them was a romantic comedy, but a couple of them, the Puck series, is pure hockey smut.
So I don't know if we'll get back to hockey news, and I don't know if you're familiar or were aware. I think it would made fairly big news in the league that the Oilers hired a new chief executive officer of hockey operations. Now everybody's with the Oilers, they've got their own special title. They're the first team to have a chief executive officer of hockey operations. And do you know who it is?
I'm gonna guess just because he always seems to come back into the Oilers organization, Craig McTavish.
No, it's J- Jeff Jackson, and he left his job being Connor McDavid's agent to
Oh
be
yeah.
Connor McDavid's boss. So that was actually pretty big news, and a lot of people around Edmonton are pretty stoked about this. They figure that it kind of guarantees that McDavid will re-sign or at least drastically increases the chances. But I'm actually, me, I'm a little pessimistic. On the surface, it's a great idea, but you have to ask yourself when is Connor McDavid's contract due? It's due 3 years from now. He needs a new contract, and he's can walk as an unrestricted free agent. three years is a long time. So what happens if that relationship between the Oilers owner and the new CEO of hockey operations, who's also been in Connor McDavid's life since he was 12, what happens if that relationship goes south? Does that increase the chances of McDavid signing to Edmonton, or does it actually take them down to close to zero? So while my commentary is, while it seems like a great idea, there's some pretty significant risks, and we shall see.
You know what
But that
happens
was the
if
big Oilers news.
yeah, you know what happens if that relationship falls apart? He gets
Uh,
fired. That's his whole job is to keep McDavid happy.
No, I'm not talking
Basically,
about the relationship with McDavid. That will always be strong, right? They've been great friends. What I'm saying is the relationship between the Jeff Jackson and Daryl Cates, the owner, if that relationship starts to sour and Jeff Jackson quits or is fired and goes back to being an agent, then they've actually hurt their chances of re-signing Connor McDavid.
yeah, that is true. It's a huge risk, but I think if the relationship stays the course, which it should, because I mean the owner, it seems like with Darnell Nurse not having any rumors of being traded, them kind of keeping the core together, them bringing in Connor Brown, which I actually like decently, just bringing in his junior teammate and everything. Seems like the owner, GM, and now CEO, their main goal for the next 3 years, other than winning a Stanley Cup, is to keep Connor McDavid happy. Like it's like, all right, we're gonna make sure this is Connor McDavid's home. And we're going to make sure, we got Connor Brown, we got Darnell Nurse, we got Leon Draisaitl. We should bring back Zach Kassian because Zach Kassian is the greatest Oiler of all time. Um, but like that, so clearly their main goal and everyone's united is that McDavid has to be happy.
Right. Well, I mean, hey, if you have potentially the greatest player of all time playing for you, and he's a very clearly a stand-up guy, with a lot of class and a lot of drive and obviously unbelievable amount of talent, you do everything you can to keep him happy. And I mean, if you look around the room here, I mean, you can see that this is how nice of an environment in here, and I'll be keeping my ear to the ground while I'm in here, and I'll update you with how things are going.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like I don't know if they're going back to those crappy orange jerseys. McDavid's probably not going to be happy being forced to wear that again. Um,
No, they went back to the royal blue, which aren't even my favorite Oilers jerseys, as you know. That I'm a copper and blue guy with the old, with not the one with the apron strings, but we don't need to go down the jersey rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think one interesting video could be what's the best jersey from every team. Um, that
What
would
I'd
be
like to do for all of our listeners from various team, all 20 of our listeners, everybody, a lot of them are fans of different teams. I would like to, the jersey brackets that I do on Facebook. I would love to do like everybody nominate their favorite jersey from their favorite team, and have an independent jersey bracket based on those jerseys. And then the only rule would be you're not allowed to vote for your own team.
yeah, that would be very interesting. We'll see if we can get that. Of course, that wouldn't be till March Madness, correct?
Yeah, I usually do it around then.
Yeah, so that would be something to look forward to in March, especially when hockey is dying down. Who knows? Maybe by then they'll announce that the World Cup of Hockey's been pushed back to 2027. So, every year it gets pushed back. It's kind of ridiculous how hard it is for the NHL to be like, yeah, let's do a best on best tournament and we can run our own with our own players, and they just don't. I think that's the dumbest thing is like, how can you not get a World Cup of Hockey together? Um,
Yeah, I get it.
but all right, that'll be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I thought that was a very fun episode here. Got to introduce my dad to maybe his new favorite genre of hockey books and hockey fiction. And we discussed the Erik Karlsson trade, so it was a lot of fun. It's good to be back recording Corky's Corner, and have a great night, everyone. And we'll see you guys hopefully next Monday. We record this when we can. Of course, with work and day-to-day life can get in the way, but it is good to be back, and hopefully we'll see you guys next Monday, if not at some point next week, for a new edition of Korkie's Corner. Have a great night, everyone.
Stay horny, my friends.